Hi, my name is Swardi. At this session, I want to show an overview of Ansible AWX and demonstrate to create automation of native cluster peering. As we know, as a native user, we know that between two native cluster, we can create inter-cluster connections. So for this example, I have on-prem cluster with this IP 101 IP, and then I have a remote cluster with the IP 102. But in this cluster, in this native cluster, there are no peer connections. This is still empty at the peer table. No connection, no peer connection, and the remote cluster, there are also no peer connections. So I want to connect and create a peer connection between on-prem cluster to remote cluster. After after on-prem and remote cluster connected with the cluster peer, there any value peer connection value at this table, and then we can create protections. We can create a protection, for example, protection volumes, and then creates SVMDR protection policy, and as we can do volume protection, SVM protection uh, to move volume or VM from production site or on-prem site to remote sites. But before we do with the protection, we should create a cluster pair to connect between on-prem cluster to remote cluster. Okay, for manually we can create a peer connection with these create buttons. We can also create a peer from this create button. Yeah, the same menu. Manually we can create it, but uh, with the Red Hat Ansible AWX, we can create it as automate to put automations to connect between on-prem and remote. We will log into AWX dashboard using admin account. Yeah, this is the dashboard for AWX. That this dashboard is same dashboard with the Ansible Tower. This dashboard, and then at this dashboard we have so many menu. This is management to manage the automation jobs. First one, we need to define the organization names. Yeah, the defaults there has a default organizations, but we can add the new organization with this plus button. We can we should mention the organization name, for example, org 49, and then save. Yeah, the organization 49 already created, and then after create organization, we create an inventory to manage the projects, to manage the automation jobs. There is a demo inventory, but we will create a new inventory with this click button inventory, and then we give name, for example, inventory 49, and then we should mention the organization. We use the org 49 selects, and then save. Okay, the inventory already created, and then we need to create projects. Yeah, we will use the new project. We create a new project with click plus button. Yeah, before we create a project, we should have a project directory. We should log in to AWX. We should connect to AWX with SSH. Yeah, we remotely using PuTTY, and then log in as root, or depend on the AWX uh, account passwords. Yeah, we should go to default directory for the AWX project. That is at libs and then AWX. There's a project directory. Now, I already create a new projects. I already create a new directory inside the project directory. That is, there is a project 49 directory. So we will use the project 49 directory, and the project 49 directory is still empty. There are no any file at there. And then we create projects, and then use the project 49 directory. So the project name, we will use the name is project 49, but it is depend on your name. Yeah, it is free, so use any names. And then we mention the organization, we will use the org 49. Then as ansible, we use the manual. And then project base directory already at project directory, and then playbook directory, we will use the project 49 that already we created at here. Yeah, at here, but there is still no any playbook. So after this step, we will create a playbook. Okay, we can shift. Yeah, project 49 already created, and there's a credential. There is a credential facility here that we can use. For example, at this dashboard, we have credential for Active Directory that already in Active Directory. We use administrator, and password is NetApp one explanations, and then the second is NetApp admin to manage the NetApp cluster, to manage cluster, on-prem cluster and remote cluster using this credential with username admin and these passwords. So we can show it, and then we continue to create template jobs. But before we create a new template job, we should prepare the playbook. Yeah. At this step, we can create template jobs to run to provide automations that the next will be jobs that can be run as automations. But before we create this template, we should prepare the playbook, ansible playbook. So we will go to project 49 directory. Project 49 directory, there is still empty, and then we will create a new playbook to create interconnection, to create a cluster interconnection or cluster pair between on-prem cluster to remote cluster. Okay. Then I need to open a new remote SSH remote to another cluster. This is on-prem cluster management. and then connect to remote cluster management of the NetApp. Okay, it is just for okay. We will create a playbook to create interconnection between on-prem cluster to remote cluster. We can share the IP address of the cluster management from on-prem and remote. So we can check here at this command lines of the cluster management on on-premise. Network interface show. Yeah, there are many interfaces that we need to create interconnection. We will use the on-prem just 01 underscore IC. IC means interconnection cluster. The IP is end with 113, and then we can check the same network interface show. The intercluster connection IP is 0.114. So we will connect. We will create a connection between this interface and this IP to this IP. Okay. So we need to create a playbook. We will use localhost and name is ontap. The gather fact is false, and then the collections, we need to mention that collections NetApp ontap, NetApp ontap, and then we need to create a task. The first task name is check the intercluster IP, intercluster for source IP. The source IP is in on-prem. I means the source IP is 113.0.113, and then the destination IP is 0.114. So we need to get this value, get this IP from playbook. So we need to test the comments. Net interface show service policy default intercluster field is address. Yeah. So using this command, we get the intercluster connection IP. So we will use this command. We will use this command to be included at this playbook, and we can check with the same command. At the remote cluster service policy default intercluster field address. Yeah, we'll use this command. Get the intercluster IP or intercluster left IP for source src cluster. And then we need to mention the module, ansible module for NetApp to execute this command to get the IP of the cluster interconnection on-prem and remote. So the module, ansible module that we use is na_ontap_command. Hostname is we will get the hostname from extra variable src cluster. So this will hostname or IP address, and then username. Username is the username of the ontap cluster. That is the NetApp username. We will add this variable later, and then we should mention the password for the cluster ontap. NetApp password variable. And then HTTPS to offer communication over HTTPS, and then validate source, false, and then the command that we will execute. The command will be in array, so we need to block quotes. Network interface show service policy default telephonic. Default cluster, intercluster, default intercluster, fields address. Return text is true. And then for handler, we will create handler variable src interconnect intercluster live. And then we and then create a handler, task for handler to check the return value, and then debug to standard out src intercluster variable. We define the output. We define all the output with message, and then call the src intercluster live variable. Message video. We will get the second line. The second line is this lines, and then split, to, and then split to get the fourth element. So the goal of this command and the output of this coder is to get this IP and also this IP. So this is getting intercluster left IP for source cluster, and then we need to get the same thing at the destination cluster. Get the intercluster left IP for destination cluster. Destination cluster. So we will define the same thing as before. Mention the module, ansible module for to do these jobs. Hostname. The difference is we will go to destination cluster. We will define this variable later in the AWX template. So this variable inside the curly branch is a variable that we can define later, that we can insert the value of the variable later at the template definitions. And then username of the ontap cluster at the destinations. We will use the same variable because it is same usernames. Same also for the password. It is the same password. So then same variable, not that password. Then the same instruction is the same to HTTPS for the protocol. It is a true. And then validate certifications is false. And then for comment, it is also same. And then login fish show set false sign. We create a same handler as before. Return destination into cluster left. And get the output of the destination in the cluster left IP with the same code as before. The difference is we mentioned the destination intercluster left msg.std out. the second line and then split. Get the fourth element. And then the interested thing is create the intercluster connection or cluster pair between on-prem and Ansible. We need to modules that we can check at the Ansible module. Ansible method pair. Method pair, method module, Ansible module, method pair. This one. Yeah, this one is NetApp ontap ontap cluster pair. This module that we can use to create interconnection between two clusters of NetApp. So there is a parameter that we need to mention. There is the required parameter, destination hostname, and then source names, and then user and password too. So there also playbook here. Playbook that's showing the using of this module. Yeah, we can learn from here. Okay, we continue to create a playbook. We continue to create a playbook. Name is create interconnections cluster cluster view. And then we mention the module and ontaps. Yeah. NetApp ontap. ontap cluster here. And then states. We need to define the states. Where is the state? Yeah, this one. This one is state. State is present. So present. So the presence means that we create new connections. State is present. And then the important thing is source cluster in source intercluster leaf. Source intercluster leaf. So we need to mention this element, this variable. Source intercluster leaf. The source intercluster leaf we can get from this command here, from this output. /rc intercluster leaf initiates.std out -2. split fourth element of the array. Okay, and then after the mentioned source intercluster leaf or logical interface, we need to mention the destinations. Yeah, this one, destination intercluster leaf. Destination intercluster leaf. This one also same with the before, getting from the previous variable destinations. This one, yeah, destination intercluster leaf machines, and then getting the lines 2, second lines, and split it to get the fourth element of the array. And the other important thing is the passphrase. Where is passphrase? Yeah, this is the passphrase. This is the passphrase. Passphrase. For example, peer rings. Passphrase. And then we should mention the required variable. This is a variable hostname. So we need to supply the hostname variable. Hostname is shorts cluster. And the user and password. Username is method username, and then password. And then the protocol. HTTPS protocol 2, and then validate short files. Okay, this is the YAML script that we already created. We will supply this variable source cluster, native username, password. We will supply this. So we should we should save the chunks, the file. We go back to AWX and create templates. Create new templates, job templates, and then the template name is template 49. Job type is run. Inventory, we'll use the inventory 49, and then project 49. And then the playbook we will use cluster interconnect.yaml, and the credential we will insert this credential, active directory. Yeah, this active directory. and then we add the credential again at the ontap cluster. Yeah, NetApp admin. Yeah, and then the important thing is we need to add the survey. Sorry, save first. Yeah, we need to save this template and then add the survey to insert the variable, insert the external variable. I mean the source cluster variable, NetApp username, NetApp password, and then destination cluster. We need to supply this variable from external. External means from this template. For example, source cluster, and then the answer is variable src cluster. The answer we can insert the cluster management IP of the cluster management of the uh, on-prem cluster and remote cluster. The IP is 101, and the second IP is 102 should be 102. 192.168.0.101, and then the second IP is 192.168.0 and 0 and 102, and the default answer is this one because it is the source IP. Okay, add. And then we need to create the second variable, destination cluster. Variable is DST cluster, yeah, DST cluster. Multiple choice. Same value with the previous, but we mentioned the default of answer is 102. And then the other question, the other variable is NetApp username and NetApp password. Sorry, NetApp username. And then the password. The answer is NetApp. Okay, shift. I think there are no other variable here. Yeah, it is enough. Okay, we can check this. And this YAML file, there are many variables. There are variables that supply from external, like SRC cluster, and then NetApp usernames and NetApp passwords, and then destination clusters. So we insert or we supply this external variable from this edit survey. We mention the search cluster, destination cluster, NetApp usernames, and NetApp admins. For detail, we can click here, so we can see this the variable names. Also, this one we can see the variable names. This suitable to this YAML file. Okay, consult. This is enough to create the templates and cluster interconnects .yaml, and then we save this template. And after it is shipped, we can launch the we can launch or running these jobs. Okay, this is confirmations, source cluster, destination cluster, username, cluster username, and cluster passwords. So this value will be a variable that's supplied to the YAML file. And then this is the variable created from the survey and to be added to the YAML file. Okay, this is the jobs that are running. There is a problem with destination hostnames. We can check again. We can check destinations hostname. Destination hostname is destinations cluster. Destination hostname. Oh yeah, we should add the destination hostnames. Hostname means variable hostname means source hostnames, and then user password, and then the destination hostname means destination cluster. Destination hostnames is a destination cluster. Okay, I think it's enough. We can relaunch the jobs, rerunning the jobs, re-execute the jobs. Okay, this is successful. So create interconnections between source cluster and destination cluster. The source cluster is 1113 IP of the source intercluster leaf logical interface, and then the destination cluster is 0.114. We can make sure the result in the NetApp. This is the source and this is the destinations. We can make sure from NetApp command lines, NetApp terminal. We can check at the cluster peer. Cluster peer show. Yeah, there are cluster peer already created. We can check too the remote cluster here show. Yeah, this is at the remote cluster. We can check their cluster pair and mention the cluster pair from on-prem cluster. And at the on-prem cluster, we can see the cluster pairing from a remote cluster. Okay, so we can make sure to add the web QI of the data cluster from system manager. Sorry for the slow connections. And same thing we can check at a remote cluster using system manager. Okay, we will be watching after the cluster pair at the on-prem cluster. There's a remote mean remote cluster. This one's already make a pairing from 114, yeah. And then the same to at the destinations or remote cluster, there are on-prem cluster with the IP intercluster is 113. So this is successful from the uh, ansible to create uh, automation of the cluster interconnections. So we can create any jobs, any requirement, any. So this is finished. Yeah, this is finished of this demo. Okay, thank you.